Okay, we got 30 minutes of tape here, just so you know. Still recording?
Tape?
Well, you know what I mean. Come on. All right. Allow me to act as a chapter leader. Okay. All right. Welcome to our chapter meeting here tonight. It's great to have everybody together. Hope you all enjoyed those refreshments. I know I'm still enjoying my coffee. Thank you. Let's go and begin. We start with the secretary, Mike.
Okay, last month we...
Hold on. Let's start over. I forgot prayer and pledge. We're not actually going to do it, but we'll just mention it.
Yeah, you'll mention it. Good.
I'll mention it. Okay. Hi, it's good to see everybody. Glad you can make it out to our chapter meeting tonight. You know, it is good to see everybody. You know, from conversation, we've had a lot going on. Appreciate getting into it. But before we do, let's go ahead and have the prayer and pledge. Okay, this is good prayer, and then we have our pledge. That's what we do during our chapter meeting. I realize this is the mock setup, but that's what we normally do. And now we're going to begin with the rest of the meeting. Well, let's start with the secretary's report. Mike?
Okay, last month we were talking about the support the H.R. 75 bill to get us out of the UN. And we had some commitments to call congressmen and senators. Anybody do that? Who did that?
Yeah, I did that. I did it too. Got a good response too.
I contacted my congressman, and again, he has for years supported this particular measure. And so in his case, I thank him for this issue.
Anybody else? Get anything else?
You know, I didn't get any response at all.
None.
I didn't get any reply at all. I don't know why. I have in other issues, but not in this one.
Did you send this email? Did you do email on this?
Was that my mistake?
Yeah, it's a problem because, you know, I talked to a congressman one time and he said that interns go through the emails and they're about 2 months behind. So if it's a critical issue, anything that's time sensitive, you either need to call the local office, call the Washington office, or you can send a fax or fax into, you can actually do a handwritten letter, but don't send that to Washington. It takes too long to get through all the screenings, so send it to the local office.
I sent my letter to the local office and I made a phone call as well.
Yeah.
The phone call, of course, is going to get there ahead of time.
Yeah. One of the real values of the phone call is kind of an old saying that, you know, if mama ain't happy, nobody's happy. When those receptionists in those congressmen's office, when all they do is just answer the phone one right after another, all of a sudden they're not happy anymore. And the congressman hears about it soon after that.
You do that too, but if you start off your conversation with talking to them, treating them like a person rather than
sure.
just Joe Schmuck that answers the phone,
Yeah.
then
Well, you always want to be nice, but I'm just saying when we're melting down the lines, it really they get.
Now, there was an example of that in this last legislative session here in Oklahoma. Now, who can report on that? Where did I hear that?
Well, actually, you know, as far as the state of Oklahoma is concerned, we had two really hot issues this past year. One was on Agenda 21, and another one was on nullifying Obamacare, nullification of both of those.
Which one
agendas.
melted the phone line, so to speak?
Well, the one on Obamacare, certainly.
Yeah, okay.
Overwhelmingly, probably
I'll tell you what, then.
70% of Oklahomans are against Obamacare.
Next time, I'll email and I'll call. How's that? We'll see which one's
Yeah, that's fine, but don't just email alone. It's just too time. It just is
Okay.
efficient.
The two bogged down.
Yeah.
Okay, how do we do on the Second Amendment issue, the UN Arms Trade Treaty, to oppose that?
Now that I got a reply on. Yes, I wrote. I sent an email and I actually got a reply on that email.
And we also got some help crossing with other organizations there. We got with the Second Amendment group. Tim's group is pretty good about that. And I think they helped us with it as well.
Along that line, Charlie and I attended a conference, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
And the new congressman who scored 100% on the Freedom Index was the keynote speaker at the Second Amendment Conference.
Awesome.
The first time I met him. Excellent.
Great.
Well, to be more specific to your question here, Mike, I didn't write or call on this particular issue, but both of our U.S. senators had town hall meetings in Guthrie within 10 days of each other, and I attended both of those. And at those meetings, I brought those issues up. Now, both of our U.S. senators are supportive of the opposition to the UN arms treaty. But what was interesting, when you're in a town hall meeting and you get to bring a subject up, not only are you addressing your U.S. senator or your U.S. representative, you're also educating
Everybody
all
in
the
the-
people there.
Yeah.
Particularly if you can be fairly articulate and not be offensive in your presentation. So it really has value to do it that way, and I was glad I was able to take the time to go to both of those town hall meetings.
And we found also at one of our town hall meetings, Charlie, we went with 4 or 5 Birchers to the same meeting. Each one of us had a different question,
Yeah,
but we knew what the other ones were going to ask, so
Sure.
we could back each other up. If I got to ask my question, that was great, but if mine was important and I didn't get to ask it, Joe Schmuck made.
So you had
Yeah.
some strategic
Some
planning.
strategic planning
Beforehand.
ahead of time.
Yeah.
now I want to ask you a question. Don, did you all make the mistake all standing or sitting together and asking them?
Oh, no,
Or
no,
did you
no,
spread
no.
out to where it didn't look like you were connected?
Nobody knew anybody.
Old
Yeah.
Birch tactic, you go in like you don't know anybody.
That's
You
it.
sit there, 4 or 5 people can control a 200-member meeting.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, well, that's great. Well, y'all are doing a good job. It's important to get out there to these meetings and get out there in the public eye, and you're really doing a good job of representing us there and getting that done.
All right, let's move on to national.
National.
All right, time for the next segment, national. Got your August bulletin. I see everybody's got them here, and the CEO of the John Birch Society, Art Thompson, put out a very informative article on foreign entanglements, and I learned something from reading that without a doubt. But when he brought it into today's world, what's going on, there's an interesting paragraph in the middle. Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but just this one little snippet. The focus of the internationalist has recently shifted to creating the Trans-Pacific Partnership, TPP, by the end of 2013, and then the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, TTIP, by 2015, or sooner if they think they can get away with it. Think of these trade pacts now, one across the Pacific, one across the Atlantic. What do you guys think? Will they work?
They'll work for the people that want to do them.
Yeah, they will.
Yeah, for
They
the
won't
merger.
work
For the
for us.
globalists, the central planners and the globalists would be a dream.
Well, it's the same thing with the free trade agreement in the Americas.
Well, Don, what do you got against free trade? Don't you like free trade? What's wrong with free trade?
Well, I love free trade.
Then why do you,
But
what do you
I
got
don't like
against these?
controlled free trade. If you got nations that need to have a trade agreement, you send an ambassador, and they make an agreement between ambassadors with no outside interference from anybody else.
Right.
Under this thing, you got the UN smack dab in the middle of it. We don't need that.
Oh, do you? Come on. It's just trade. What's wrong with free trade? Look, it's all in the title. I don't see a problem here myself. I see what Mr. Thompson is saying, but what's wrong with free trade? I don't get it.
Well, let me suggest something to you, Bob, and I think it'll help you in your understanding here to overcome some of your objections to this or your lack of knowing what's going on.
I'm all ears, Charlie.
Adam Smith is kind of the forefather of free trade in his book, The Wealth of Nations, written back in the 1700s. That's what all of today's contemporary free traders reach back to and point to Adam Smith.
What's his name?
Adam Smith, Wealth of Nations. I'm surprised that you're such an advocate of free trade, you've never heard of Adam Smith. Point is this, today's free traders are not really free traders. They're heavily regulated traders. And they don't recognize that Adam Smith actually made exceptions to free trade. About 3 years ago, the New American, there was one of the, I forget which month it was, I remember it was a yellow cover on it, was on free trade. And that was so great because it brought out the exceptions that Adam Smith made to free trade. For example, he could care less where trinkets were made that we free trade. But he was totally against having foreign powers, even your enemies, provide equipment for your military. That's insane to do that. And we're doing exactly that in America today under this guise of free trade. Today's modern free traders are primarily responsible for destroying much of our manufacturing base
That's right.
and creating our huge trade deficit. Every single one of these free trade treaties or pacts that we sign, our trade balance between those countries goes south.
Well, I
It's
do
been
read
a
about.
disaster.
I
Even
do
though
read
I'm
about-
an advocate of true free trade.
Yeah.
There
I
you
do
go.
read about
That's it.
manufacturing jobs disappearing overseas. I'll tell you what. As part of the action item here, it says contact a representative and ask them to co-sponsor the American Sovereignty and Restoration Act of 2013. This is HR 75.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a
Oh, we should care about sovereignty, Bob?
I'm on to sovereignty. Yes, I am. All right. Who's going to write our representatives about this and co-sponsoring this bill? Anybody join me on that?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Mike, you get these names?
I'll make that commitment.
Yep, we got them.
All right. Secretary is busy writing those names. Good to hear. Okay. One other item I want to bring up, and that's recruiting.
Get mine in there too.
You got Charlie?
Sure.
Mr. Fitzgerald had this great article in Recruiting. I want to bring out this one paragraph, get your thoughts. When building our organization and its outreach, one of our primary assets has always been influence we've sought among those who attended one of our programs. This JBS influence can be detected amongst many organizations that are today described as patriotic or conservative. This, in many cases, is the result of millions of Americans who read some of our material, viewed one of our DVDs, or attended a speech program. Has any of you folks actually done this or had success here in Oklahoma, reaching out that way?
Of course,
Oh, absolutely.
we have. In fact, our various chapters have specific focuses on different areas of interest and import depending on the geographic, where they're located, what they're doing. And each one of them has reached out in this very fashion. Attended other meetings, attended different things that are meaningful, and they've had an influence. I think it's happened throughout the state.
Yeah, they attend the other meetings and they come in and bring the results to their
Sure,
desk.
you got OPAC, you got the Second Amendment group, you got the high noon jobs out here at the H&R gun range.
Okay, say.
OK Safe. I mean, we've got Birch influence all over the place.
Do you think there's something we can do to help get the message out?
Well, I think the interesting thing, when the Tea Parties popped up, I think a lot of us that have been around for a long time knew that it'd be really hard to keep that energy up, but we encouraged our members to just go and be supportive of them, and what kind of happened was interesting, is it wasn't too long before many of the people attending the Tea Parties realized that there were certain people among them that had a tremendous base or institutional knowledge of government that the newbies didn't have. And pretty soon, before you know it, they're looking to many of our members for leadership, guidance, and things like that. So we were able to be a tremendous influence on some of the local Tea Parties in Oklahoma, based on just our members' willingness to reach out and be available and help.
Our chapter leader down in Norman has had a tremendous impact in that area, tremendous.
And then a lot of the Tea Party people have gone ahead and joined the Birch Society. Sometimes those Tea Parties, again, they were so based on emotion and just for the moment, and you can't keep emotion up forever. And so some of those have waned, but there's some really good people that have come out of those that become really solid Birchers now, and that's been a real benefit.
Yeah,
Well-
because they get their knowledge from us.
Sure.
I'll tell you what, talking about knowledge, we got this new booklet here, America and the United Nations, all right? I was wondering, what do you think about reaching out to some of your contacts in these other organizations? I'll click this. Don't worry.
Yes, this idea.
That's quite an idea.
Hold on. Okay, what do you think about reaching out to some of the folks in these other organizations with this booklet, the United Nations, and handing out a few copies? Anybody willing to do this?
Yeah, we can do
Yeah.
that.
Well, to be honest with you, I haven't had time to read that yet, but half dozen people tell me it's just a fabulous book.
Anything
But
that's against
I won't
the
commit to
United
that until I read it, but
I
it shouldn't
got-
take too long.
Charlie, I got some of these from.
I actually have one, I just haven't had time to read
Well, I
it.
got some from our state coordinator.
Oh, okay.
And I
Okay.
picked them up, and we've used them throughout the area now already. We
All right.
got them going.
Mr. Secretary, it looks like Clark, Don, and myself have all agreed to reach out. Let's see how we do next month.
Yeah, put my name down to see if I've got it read by next month.
Hey, Charlie. Maybe we can get it on audiobook for you.
Well, so maybe call me,
Yeah, right.
call me in a week to see if I've read it.
Charlie, I'm surprised someone's firing as you haven't read this yet.
Somebody remind me next month not to sit between these two lines.
Okay, all right, we got to move on it's because our meeting's coming to a close here. Charlie, or coming close, we're halfway through. Charlie, how about taking time on the local?
You know, one of the things I think is encouraging to me, and I'm seeing this in the action items in the bulletins now, is more and more focus on state government, particularly in the idea of agenda.
Yeah.
I think the Birch Society realizes that we need to fight, we need to directly contact all of our Washington lawmakers, but we also need to work the states.
That's right.
Because the states have an ability, under the concept of nullification, to start pushing back against the overreach of the federal government. And so we actually had something interesting happen in Oklahoma last year, or actually this year. Our new Speaker of the House created a States' Rights Committee.
Yes,
And-
he's got a
and-
great lead on that.
The leader,
Chairman
the
is
chairman
awesome.
is great, and
Yeah.
a number of the members are really good. And they began to come up with legislation to nullify those unconstitutional overreaches of the federal government and even the courts. And so two of them, I mentioned it earlier just briefly, but two of those issues were Obamacare. And, you know, in 2010, the citizens amended our Constitution in Oklahoma to basically try to nullify Obamacare. What do you all think about the importance of us putting more effort on our state legislators?
I think we have to.
Well, and another thing, you can have so much more influence because you can know these individuals personally.
Exactly.
Yes.
And they see you coming, they know your name, you
Yes.
build an influence with them, and
Yeah,
you
there
talk
you
to
go.
them directly about the issue.
They're
Wait,
gonna
they
stay there
can
and
know
talk
my-
to you, or they're gonna turn and run.
Yeah, either way.
They can know my name,
Yeah.
but I'm just one person of millions. They would know me.
Yeah, you know better than
Clark,
that.
tell about how you have, you take lawmakers out for lunch sometimes or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
How you work some of that?
And you can. It's just the personal contact, and you establish a friendship. You can, and many times it lasts for many years, but you can learn to trust them, and they might not agree with you on all the issues,
No.
but they will respect you.
What I really find is when I'm having success is when they call me.
They call you?
I've had a senator.
They care what you think, Don?
I've had a state senator call me for help, and I've also had my representative to the House has called me, asked me to set up a meeting.
Well, Charlie's had them call him, but they can't get through to him.
Well,
That's a bit of an overreach.
Well, occasionally.
Or they can't get him to return their call.
Come on, Charlie's too busy washing windows. The state reps, he center.
Actually, I don't have time to wash windows much anymore because so many of them call me on the darn phone with them so much.
I'm gonna get Bluetooth, Charlie, with a headset.
Yeah.
That's what you need to do, is find where he's washing windows and go and be his helper.
In all seriousness, it is an incredible thing to establish that, and then they do call you.
that's
To
exactly.
have some rapport with them.
Yeah.
And like I say, they'll respect it when you oppose them if you do it in the right way.
And the beauty of it is to call them as often as you can, to congratulate them as opposed to calling them and chewing on them.
And let me ask you this, whether they're a good lawmaker or not, how many of you would be willing to, sometime between now and when session starts next February, just call at least your state rep or your state senator and ask about for lunch?
Yeah. Yeah. And
Or
give them the
breakfast.
DVD
Or
overview of
breakfast.
America.
Yeah.
If they haven't seen
hands.
it, you bring it
That's right.
along.
Yeah, see, Don and I usually do this together, so we get to,
Yeah. Or one of the one that's besides overview, we also need to put the little booklet about Agenda 21 in their hands. Because,
Yeah.
you know, many of them in Oklahoma are really against Obamacare, but we need to raise their elevation on understanding of Agenda 21. So,
Exactly.
and then, besides lunch, how many of you are willing to make a commitment to reach out to them and when session starts next year and contact them?
Well, I'll tell you what, Charlie, I'll give a call and ask my state rep if he'll come to lunch with me. I don't think he will. Now, if he does, I'll buy you lunch as well, because I'll be at OVMAs.
Okay, all
No,
right.
you can't find
We're
him
good.
to feed him, so it won't be.
Never say no to a free lunch,
Let me know when
Charlie.
you're gonna do this, and I'll call him ahead of time. And make sure he goes
Inside
out.
deal, insider right here at this table, at this table, we have an insider.
And there's one other thing too, Charlie, don't forget. We also have the new tools.
Right,
I
right.
always try to get these as quickly as I can, if you go back to the back.
Well, we're going to get to the tools section in a moment
That's
here.
important.
Is there anything else, Charlie, in the locals?
I think those are the two of the really big issues is Agenda 21 and Obamacare, continuing to put the pressure on your state lawmakers to nullify those unconstitutional measures.
Okay, so who's gonna call them on those two issues?
I'll give them.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'll try.
And who's going out to lunch?
Try, we eliminate that word from English.
I go out
Put it on
there.
Charlie's
I like lunch.
I'm hoping for Charlie runs a tab at every restaurant in Oklahoma City, so just put it on his tab, it'll be all set.
Hey, that's an idea. Awesome.
Well, my state rep,
My last name is
is going to be on my tab. Count me down, Mike, count me down.
All right, it'll be good to find out how that goes, especially for Bob, because he's new at this.
Yeah.
Charlie's good at stealing identifications.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's move on to tools. And I think, Don, you really wanted tools this time around, so what have you got?
Yeah, well, we've got, anytime you get your bulletin, there's always a list of new tools and things. And I think it's important for the secretary to get with the chapter leader, as we do, and suggest that, hey, we need to get these and order them, get them into the hands of the folks every time we have our chapter meeting.
Yeah.
And it's important, and as we go through and meet with our legislators too, to take some of this stuff to them. And Debbie and I make it a habit to get to know our local government, if you will. I'm talking about dog catcher.
City council.
City council.
Mayor and stuff, yeah.
And so forth. Planning commission on the city council. Nobody ever goes to planning commission meetings. It's important to have citizen representation.
Be careful, you'll end up on one of those commissions.
I already tried that. But anyway, these are good handouts taken. We've even gone to the chiefs of police in Choctaw and out at Hara
Yeah.
and taken our stuff on.
Did you do the support your local police? Yeah.
You betcha, and it works. So these are important things. The DVDs, the pamphlets, the little booklets, phenomenal tools.
Inexpensive.
Inexpensive, they don't cost much.
Yeah.
And you know, another thing too, it's important about tools. Sometimes our members, they don't have the confidence that they know the issue well enough, they can really articulate it well. Now, we want them to get to that place.
Right.
But you can always put these well-prepared tools into somebody. If you can't tell it yourself,
Give them
ask
a tool.
them, give them one of these tools.
Amen.
Take 5 minutes to read this.
Exactly.
Or most of our DVDs are anywhere from 12 to 30 minutes long. And I always tell people, you know, I'm going to ask for 24 minutes of your life right here, something of that nature. And you get a pretty good high viewership of them.
What have you got for specific tools for this month, Don?
Well, we've got them right here on page 4
Okay.
in the bulletin. And
Okay.
You're talking about the things like, how does Agenda 21 affect you? Agenda 21 and you, it's all geared to Agenda 21 in the UN. We've got the real price of free trade.
I'm going to have to read that one because what do you mean price and free trade?
We need to
Oh, you
pass
don't think
these
there is
out.
one, huh?
Each one of us needs one of these, at least one.
Well, I have my questions on this.
Yeah.
So you say I should read this first?
Yeah, it wouldn't be a bad idea to read it. You'll know exactly what you got going on. And we've got another one on, what's the other one that we have?
Not so free trade.
Not so free trade. That's important. This
It's
is
on the
one of
TPP and the
things.
TTIP.
There you go. And these things are all important to us.
Oh, it is, huh? Well,
Did you
thank
get one?
you.
You got one too? Pass it.
Now you say we hand these out and people will, they'll respond?
Yes, they should. And if you ask the right questions, they'll respond.
And you don't charge them for them, you just,
Yeah, don't hand it to them and say, give me 15 cents.
These are
Control.
15 cents.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Buy 100 of them for 15 bucks.
And don't forget the New American, by the way, the transatlantic trade we've got on that one.
Talking about the New American,
Commitments.
I
Yeah, I need to have some commitments too on who's going to.
had some doctor's appointments.
Yes.
Left my New Americans.
Oh, I do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do
It's
that.
fun. I forget
It's
it
fun.
occasionally, but then I've left several in the last
Clark,
couple of months.
I asked my doctors for their email address. Can I email them stuff that I can get on our members site, you know, the downloads? I email stuff to them.
That's fantastic.
And they like it. I've got 3 of them that, if I go on a doctor's appointment and I haven't sent them stuff,
They're asking you.
They ask me.
Okay, now
Yes,
that's
yes.
influence,
Yeah.
isn't it?
yes, it is.
That's what-
I hope not to have any influence of my doctor. Hope to only see him about once every 5 years.
it might just be one of those once every 5 years, but you get to leave the
Yeah,
stuff in his
yeah.
office for people.
How many of our group can tell me and promise me that they'll pass out some of these tools?
Oh, sure.
Well, I'm sure I will, because everything Bird Society produces is good, but I always like to read it first before I pass it out.
Tell you what, I'll buy 100 of them.
Okay, and if you please write their names down, those will take them, Mike, and next month we'll ask how it succeeded,
Mhm.
and we can include
Bob,
that.
I'll give you $2
We
for
can
half of
include
it.
that on our chapter report.
Wait a minute. I'm spending $7.50 for one packet,
Yeah.
and that's half of what I'm buying, and you're offering $2?
Yeah.
What a deal! Will you commit to handing them out, Charlie?
After I read them,
Bob, he's got witnesses too.
after I read them.
All right. Hey, this has been a good chapter meeting because during the secretary's report, you see we all did stuff last month. That's pretty good. And it's good to see they're all back. During national, we all made some commitments that way. And during local, we're going to help out Charlie. And I actually made the vain promise to call my state representative, but we'll see.
I'm looking for a free lunch pretty soon.
And during
don't
tools, we
forget
got
the-
this.
Don't forget the featured products either in the back of the bulletin every month.
I'm going to have to read the back of the bulletin and check them out, without a doubt.
Every month.
All right.
Who's going to the council dinner, by the way? Anybody? I know.
I am.
Are you going to Charlotte?
Yeah.
All right.
On that, we'll close with the balance of our refreshments, and feel free to stick around and talk all you want, into the evening here, no problem. I know I got a few questions for Charlie and this stuff, but that's all right.
All right.
Let's go and close.
Thanks.
All right. See you guys.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay.
Yes, Charlie.
Hey, perfect. 27 minutes. All right.
If you're not having